Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to share with you my free NFL prediction template for this coming playoffs. And so this is a template that you can share with your friends, make predictions, and compare your results to see who's doing best. You can create your own scoring system, and so I'll walk you through how this works. So this first tab here, this is the prediction tab where you can select the team that you expect to win, the score that they're going to win by, and the number of touchdowns if you want to track that for potentially tie-breaking purposes. So I'm just going to select random teams here. And as you make these predictions, you'll see that the divisional games auto-populate based on the seeding. And so as you make your picks, everything will populate through to the last game. And then if you scroll down below, you can see visually what your predictions look like. And you can also include the score here, touchdowns. There's a section here for betting related information like over under, the team to win and the spread. So that doesn't impact the actual scoring. This is just really if you just want to track that information. And so the columns in black are calculator fields, so don't make any changes here. These will calculate the total points for the game, the margin of victory, the over-under, whether they covered, and it will also calculate the number of points you earned based on your prediction. All right, so this will be based on your scoring rules and the actuals. So the next tab I'm going to go over is to the standings tab. So right now I've got these teams listed based on their standings as of now, which obviously will change obviously by the end of the season. So you can go in here and make any changes for the division winners, the wild card teams, and this will automatically update the other tabs where you have to make those predictions. So right now, we've got the Baltimore Ravens as that first wild card team. If I were to change that to, let's say, Cleveland Browns, it'll update in there. So that's how it works, and obviously then I'll have to make the change here and so on. And that might affect some of these things. So if you want to clear these predictions out, an easy way is just to select all these values, hit the delete button, and then you're starting fresh all over again. So if you have to make changes to the standings, that's how you can do that. And that way you don't have to worry about whether you've got the latest version that has the latest standings. You can just go in and make these changes yourself and update them, and your template's ready to go. The next tab over is the master tab, and this is really where you're going to track the actuals. So this is the tab that you don't want to be making predictions on or any changes. These should be your actuals, because how the other tabs work is they're going to compare against this master tab. So the prediction tabs are going to look at the master tab to say, okay, was the result right? Was the score right? Was the number of touchdowns right? If it is, then okay, then let's look at that scoring criteria to see how many points someone's going to get for that correct result and that correct score. So if I go back on this prediction tab, and right now I don't have any points earned, but let's say if I just go in here and make them again, let's see if I can get any correct results just by randomly picking teams here. And potentially some of them might be right. So I did get a couple here, points earned. So in these initial stages where the teams were where I picked Dallas and New York, so that matched up to these cells here, Dallas and New York. So you can see that's how it's calculating. It's looking at those values to see if those are correct, and if it is, it's saying okay, the correct winner was there. So you've got 5 points, which is what I set as the score for getting the right team. So that's how the sheet's structured. It's comparing the master against those predictions. So again, this is where as the results come in, as the games are played, you'll want to update this for your scores. The over under, these tabs in blue aren't really that important. They're really, again, just for those betting odds if you want to track that. But I've left them here in the master tab, even though they're not really not really needed. It's still going to do the calculations here for the total points, the margin of victory, over under if they covered. But again, for the master tab, you just want to be changing the values that are in these yellow columns to put in the result, the team that won, score, and the number of touchdowns if you want to track that. And this is what the visual will look like once you've actually got the scores entered in here. So you'll see the left score relates to the team on the top, the right score to the team on the bottom, and then you've got your winner. So this is based on last year's playoffs. And so the next tab over is the scoring system. So as I mentioned, I had 5 points for a correct winner. You can change this to whatever you like. So all these values here can be changed. There's also a multiplier that you can apply. So if you want to, give someone incentive for getting the later rounds correct, you can do that so that this will multiply by a factor of 2 if it's in the second round, 3 if it's in the third round, 5 if it's in the Super Bowl. So to give people incentive to, pick the right teams and, provide rewards. So you don't have to use it. You can set these all to 1, in which case the score is going to be identical regardless of the round. There's also a section here for requiring the exact teams. So, for example, you might have the completely wrong teams in one of those games, but let's say you've got the correct number of points, right? Do you want to award someone points for that if the teams are completely wrong because their earlier predictions were wrong? So if you do want to require that the teams have to be exact, obviously set this to a Y, to a yes. If you want to say, no, regardless of the teams, if you get the right points in the right game, you still get points for that, then you can set this to no, and it's not going to check for this. So it gives you a bit of flexibility. And so the main things that this template is going to be looking for is if you got the correct winner, correct number of points, and the exact score, if you got the correct over-under, margin of victory, and if you got the number of touchdowns right. So you can assign different scores, different multiples, and different requirements on whether the teams need to be correct based on those different metrics. So there's a bit of flexibility here as to how you can score that. The last tab is the scores tab. So this is where you're going to get the values based on to compare how each person is doing. And so I've created some macros here to make this a bit easier to do. So you could manually, copy and paste this prediction tab over for each person who's making predictions, right? But let's say you've got a couple users who you want to create these sheets for. Let's say John and Bill, right? So these are two people who are going to make predictions. So you can click this update sheet button, and what it's going to do is it's actually going to run a script to copy that prediction tab over. And so we've got Bill in there, John in there, and it's carrying over a score of 10 just because on that prediction tab, which is another thing to note, you want to make this cleared off. Initially, I made some predictions on there, but it's copied that entire sheet over along with those predictions. So I should have cleared that off beforehand, but that's how it works. So it's updating. It's creating those sheets, and it's also pulling in their scores from there, right? So let's say if I changed one of these results, let's say I didn't pick Dallas, I picked Tampa Bay. Now if I go back in here, now it's updated my score. And so you can also have this sorted as well. So let's say if you go back to John's and just say, John didn't make any predictions yet. All right, so if we click the sort button, what it's going to do is run the macro, sort it, and Bill goes up to the top. So it's an easy way to re-rank it. And, if you decide, okay, John's not going to make any predictions, we're going to remove him. If you just type in remove in column C and then hit update again, it is going to get rid of that tab, and you're left with just Bill on there. You want to add another person. Let's say you've got Mike, Sean, update sheet. It's going to create a copy for those two people. You can see it making one for Sean, one for Mike. So it's automatically populating that. So once you determine how many users you want, they could go in there and, okay, make their predictions. They're done. And then once they're done making their predictions, obviously, ideally, you'd want to lock this down and say, okay, make your predictions. When you're done with it, you can't go back into it and make changes after the fact. So once everybody's done that, then you can just periodically go into the master tab, update the actuals, and then, say go to the scores, resort it, and then you can give people view access instead of edit access, where they could see, okay, how they're doing, right? So that's a good way with Google Sheets, where we can sort of lock this down a bit. So if you're sharing the file initially before the playoffs start, you can give people access and say, oh, make your predictions, that sort of thing. And if everybody's fine with it, then you can lock down the sharing to say, okay, they only have view access, and in that case, they could just see the scores, and the main person who's maintaining this file, who's updating that master tab, can go in and update these scores, and then rerun the macro to sort this. So when you run this macro initially, it's going to ask you for permissions, just like if you're using an Excel spreadsheet, you're gonna have to enable content and allow it. So you're just gonna have to run through that when you do it. But this will make it easier if you're adding or removing people from this template, just to make it easier to copy and paste everything properly and to put the formulas in, so it's pulling in those scores. So I think that'll make it a bit easier for maintaining it. So if you like this spreadsheet, please let me know what you think. Leave a comment, because I've made templates like this before in Microsoft Excel, but I wanted to try it in Google Sheets just to see if it works better, which I suspect it probably will, since you don't have to send spreadsheets back and forth. So leave me a comment with your feedback. I wanted to release this well ahead of time, just in case there are issues or things that or suggestions that you want to see made, that I can do that before the playoffs start. But other than that, if you do like it, just please like this video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.